You started learning how to make games I think it was 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, the timeline's fuzzy, but about 3 years ago, yeah.
So you're right alongside everybody listening. It's just you did something right. Can you take me through some steps of how you did what you did? Like, you're sitting here as a full-time game developer, and 99% of people listening right now are like, I would kill for that. How did you do it?
If you're watching this video, you of course have some sort of desire to make a game, or tangentially maybe you're just interested in game design. It's different for everyone. Let's just get that out there, that caveat. It's gonna be different for everyone. I'm just gonna tell you my experience. I'm the kind of person who needs a mentor, someone that I can just ask a bunch of, like, vomit a bunch of questions about everything, because I'm the kind of person who needs to know. I love to know how things work and why they work. I ask a lot of questions why, to the point that my team is like super annoyed with me because they think I'm like testing them or something, but I'm actually like trying to engage. And like, I always like to have a mentor of someone who like has experience. Maybe they've already shipped a game. If you don't have access to that kind of person, you can find access to that kind of person fairly easily on forums, Reddit, Discord groups, and stuff like that. Like-minded individuals who will be more than happy to help because they've helped me. Right. Obviously, Thomas, you're one of them, right? I think a lot of people know this, but I actually was a student in your, like, one of the very early students in your full-time game dev course. And this is not an ad or anything. I'm just speaking from like my experience. Thomas, the way Thomas teaches, or I should speak to you. Okay. The way you teach.
You do whatever you want. You can speak however you want.
The way you teach is somehow clicked with me so well because I think we kind of have a similar background in like graphic design. You're a very creative guy. You look at even the technical aspects of things very creatively and visually.
Well, side note here, the technical side, when someone tells me to do it the right way, I immediately do it the wrong way on purpose because I get frustrated when technicians say you have to do it this way. Oftentimes, this is just a side note, oftentimes what happens is when they go, this is the right way to code, this is the right way to make a game, blah, 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 that oftentimes weighs people down and they don't finish their freaking game. And that's what bugs me so much about the technical side. So yes, I approach the technical side chaotically and it's almost on purpose. But anyway, go ahead.
Right, and I think that annoys Trevor sometimes because when he was learning to code and stuff, like, you'd go on forums and people's like, this is the correct way to do it. There is no correct way to do it. And oftentimes, even if when you do something incorrectly, it leads to these advancements and these really cool happy accidents. Those people on the internet who sound like they really know what they're talking about don't necessarily understand the bigger picture. They're probably very talented, but
one of the vices of humanity is focusing on money. You know, you shouldn't focus on money too much because it'll make your life miserable. But at the opposite end, or the flip side of the coin, is if you can focus on money when it comes to making your game, it actually makes things so much clearer. Like, for me, I don't know if this was true for you, but like, it's like, how do I make some money off this game and go full time? Like, that to me has always been the question. Cause like, once you get the money, then making the game is much easier. Because it's like, well, now I got the time to do it. I can do it full time. I don't have to worry about launch. I don't have to get paranoid about making enough money. And I can hire out people and I can get some help, or even just like part-time contract workers, right? This is what I tell anybody who's saying, hey, I want to make a game. What do I need to do? The first thing I tell them is, what's your freaking hook? What is your hook? Because if you don't have a hook, you're not going to sell anything. Most likely. And so people think, well, why is Thomas bringing up the hook? Shouldn't I learn how to code? No. Figure out your hook, because I don't want you to learn how to code if you can't sell your hook.
You can learn to code while you're making the game. Don't worry about that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. Dude, I remember this like it was yesterday. I was out in, I think it was in San Francisco or something for some reason, for some game show. And I reached out to one of the creators of Earthworm Jim, and I messaged him and I said, can I get lunch with you? And for some reason he said yes. And so I drove down to some seaside town. It was really bougie, really nice. And he took me out to lunch and I gave him this whole pitch about this like game idea I had. I had printed this thing out. I spent 2 weeks putting together this pitch for him just because I wanted his ideas. I spent all this money on these game mechanics and the artwork and the style. And he pushed it aside and he said, there's no hook. Now, he didn't say it as brutally as that, but he said, you've got to have a hook here, man. Like, there's nothing else that you need to focus on other than that one sentence hook. And for you, you know, one of your hooks is Hollow Knight, but in Japan. And I think that's great. And as much as maybe I would be scared of being associated with Hollow Knight because it's hard to compete, it is a really good hook.
We're also referred to as Silk Song at Home.
Yeah,
That's
there you
one.
go.
That's another one of our hooks.
There you go. Yeah, so like for you, like was that helpful to you? Like aiming the gun before you worry about how to shoot the gun. Was that helpful to you? Aiming it towards a target of how do I get funded?
You know, if you're talking in relation to like how you preach that, I think like earlier on when I was a student of yours, you didn't quite preach that as hard. You definitely probably mentioned it, but now you're going full on, and I really appreciate that because it is actually the main thing, the first thing that you should be doing. Yeah. So I don't know if anything we did in that way was intentional, like getting a hook or anything like that. I think it was really like the whole idea for Bo was just based off what I wanted to see in a video game, and all of the elements of really cool things that I've seen in other video games that I wanted to creatively explore in my own game.
Yeah.
So it's kind of how that happened.
Okay, so you took Thomas's course. I'll pay you $300 after this call, by the way. No, I'm kidding. Thank you for being so kind about that. That means a lot to me. So I helped sort of show you the way, like a Jedi. And what about the technical side? Like, okay, so Thomas shows you how to get funding. Thomas shows you how to market a game. But like, was it difficult for you to learn how to make a game in Unity?
You definitely gave us some building blocks when you were, in your videos. I think there was a period where things start to click. You start to really understand like prefabs or whatever, and just in the beginning it's so overwhelming. You're like, a scene? What is a scene? Like, what are the implications?
Why isn't it called a level?
Right. And what are the implications of making a new scene? Like, how do I connect them or whatever? There's so many things. After a while, like, I felt like, at some point I felt confident enough to like deviate, right? So that probably came when Trevor, our lead programmer, came on. When I realized coding wasn't perhaps my forte, I was more on the creative art side, right? When he came on and he kind of had his own idea of how to do things, everything started to mesh a little bit differently. I don't know. I think you just practice something every day and it just becomes so comfortable.
And by the way, if you're like me and you always dreamt of making an indie game as a full-time job, I have a free webinar below that goes into exactly how to make six figures with just a demo. I was just like you for years. I thought I had to make a game in its entirety before getting a paycheck, but there's actually 3 ways to make 6 figures before even finishing your game. I've done this multiple times. So check it out below if you do want to go full-time indie. And thanks for watching.